Here we go. Chris Sims, Devin McCourty, and Rodney Harrison all got together to talk about the top AFC teams with Super Bowl windows. It is to no one's surprise that they talked about the Bills and Ravens first, but specifically the Ravens. And obviously some context that we all know is Devin McCourty and Rodney Harrison know something about getting to the Super Bowl, as both of them are former Patriots. I think one had played with the Patriots for like 13 years, the other 15. I mean, crazy stints. And obviously was there with the greatest quarterback of all time, but was also there with one of the most does Bill Belichick have the most Super Bowl rings? I'm assuming he does.
Yep.
Does he have the most? Okay. So they've got that background to them.
Not more than Tom, though.
Not more than Tom.
Coaches wise.
There we go.
Tom's got one more, as we all know.
Well, Tom left Bill. And Bill's team went downhill, and Tom just continued to do what he does.
And while we're talking about Bill, you got to go check out.
You texted me last night, and I forgot to respond.
Go check it out.
That was hilarious. Just tell the people. Funny. Tell the people real quick.
Mary Kay Cabot, Browns beat reporter, friend of the show, long-time reporter in Cleveland. So long that the first head coach that she covered was one Bill Belichick. She roasted him pretty good during a speech recently at a podium with a live audience, and it was all about his 24, 23, somewhere around there, year-old girlfriend, Jordan Hudson, essentially referring to herself, meaning Mary Kay, as the 28-year-old that Bill was really tough on earlier on in her career, and then threw a little zinger in there. I know why he was so tough, because he wasn't, what was the quote? It was like he wasn't familiar or wasn't used to. It was just hysterical. Go check it out. Mary Kay Cabot, trending on Twitter.
You sent it to me. I'll bring it up quickly here. You set it up so well and then just failed on the delivery line.
I know.
She said, I totally understand why Bill gave me such a hard time. I was 28 at the time, and he just couldn't relate to a woman that old.
I got a good kick out of it.
Well, it's funny because we've talked to Mary Kay. It's not like we're best friends, but she's been on the show more than once. And she's just an encyclopedia of information and so like straight-faced and professional that it was like, that's probably more of what got me more than even just the zinger, that it came from Mary Kay. But obviously we don't know her too well, but.
Totally. And how refreshing is it though, that someone can have that sense of humor, show that side of her humor, and coming off the ESPYs and the roast from a couple of years ago with Brady and Belichick and Edelman and all these, like this culture of sensitivity surrounding roasts. I think it just lacks humor. And I thought that it was hysterical. I'm sure Jordan Hudson didn't appreciate it, and probably Bill didn't appreciate it, but the audience did based on what you heard. Anyway,
I feel like if you're in a relationship with that, you have to be fine with good humored jokes about it, right? Like some can go too far, but that one I don't think was like distasteful or anything. Like it's just like, you gotta listen, you gotta be able to laugh at yourself sometimes, for sure. Okay, heading back over to Chris Sims, Devin McCourty, and Rodney Harrison, and they're talking about the Ravens Super Bowl window and how the Ravens have really had a window for, this is now the third year in a row, maybe more, but for sure the last 3 years. Before that, Lamar got injured a couple times. Rodney Harrison did not mince words. He made it very clear the one person he thinks it could be that gets them over the top. It was not like most media that just says Lamar, 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 Lamar. He said somebody that I think some people in this chat will like to hear.
Talk about Baltimore. And the thing about Baltimore to me is this: they've had a Super Bowl roster the last few years.
100.
And the players have done a tremendous job. And I have a lot of respect for Coach Harbaugh and the job that he's done. But the players have gotten them to that point. Now it's up to the coach to get them over the hump. So it's up to Coach Harbaugh to get that team prepared and ready and over that hump. We would always get us to that point, the players, and then Coach Belichick, because of his planning, his ability to just speak into us and show us different things and really elevate our play, got us over the hump. So it's the coaching that gets you over the hump.
Right.
So I'm looking at McDermott, I'm looking at Coach Harbaugh. These teams are very mirrored. Right, either one of these teams should be winning Super Bowls. They should be beating Kansas City, but it's the difference is coaching. That's the difference. You got to think about what Isaiah Likely said this offseason. It really caught me. He said we have to be able to play a certain style of football, the same style of football in the regular season and the playoffs.
Gotcha.
That's what he said. And that's the thing that really drew my attention. I'm like, why are things different? Why is something different? And that's the thing I love about Coach Belichick. He would actually elevate us by instilling confidence, showing us different little trinkets and things that work. And we would always have that confidence going in, and we would win football games because we had a great coach.
Bobby, it's hard to disagree. Like, I don't know where I could be like, no, you're absolutely wrong when you talk to a guy who's been to a Super Bowl and he's been there with star players. Star players. Look, there's no doubt in my mind that we just mentioned it. Tom Brady went on and won a Super Bowl ring. Bill Belichick did not. But when you hear from Super Bowl winners saying, listen, the players are going to get you there, but the coach gets you over the hump, that holds some weight for me. That you've been there so many times, that holds weight to me. And that doesn't mean that like the players have no accountability, right? Like it doesn't mean that you can't point out that, Zay Flowers had a fumble and Mark Andrews had a fumble and that there was the 2-point conversion was dropped or that Lamar had an interception. Like you can point that all out for sure. And they're professional players, but when other players that have rings and have played with some of the greatest of all time, and they're saying, listen, I'm telling you, it's the head coach that instills some confidence. It's the head coach that, keeps you calm. And for sure, I would put that AFC Championship game number 1 on the coaches. And because I just think they came with the wrong game plan. And so I don't know how you could push back and say Rodney Harrison is totally wrong here.
I think we'd be crazy to do that based on what they've been, what they've accomplished, who they are, what they've seen, what they've experienced. I am with you. I think when I look at the 2023 AFC Championship game, I'm a lot more receptive to what Rodney just shared there. Lately, as we've spent all of this offseason dissecting the pressure management side of things, dissecting the lack of turnovers and takeaways that this defense has created. And on the other side of the football, the careless turnovers, particularly in that first half in Buffalo, it's hard for me to solely blame John Harbaugh for those areas. Is there a way of coaching pressure management, changing the way that you prepare? He's going to have to find out. He's going to have to find that out if they're there again, if they're in a position to do so. So to a certain extent, I kind of like stop myself and I'm like, okay, yes, it's ultimately up to the Super Bowl champion who's been there and done that before in 2012. But how much of that is in his control when you're in the elements? There's a massive drop in a crucial moment. There's a costly turnover. There's pass rushes coming at a premium when it comes to pressure and sacks and so on and so forth. That's hard for me to just sit here and call a blanket statement. It's up to John Harbaugh. Overall, it's up to him to figure out why those areas came up short. But is he ultimately the blame?
Well, I think what Rodney's getting to, I'm with you. Like, I just feel like, they're professional athletes that are out, especially the all pro athletes that are like, having turnovers and this and that. But I think what Rodney is specifically speaking to, if you listen to him, he pointed out what Isaiah likely said. And Isaiah said, our identity changes. Now in the 2023 AFC Championship game, we can see the identity changed with the X's and O's and the game plan. But I think there's another side of it where it's like there's nervousness there. Remember Odafe Owe was on X Radio. What's it called?
Rich Eisens or Sirius XM?
No, Sirius XM. And he was like, we just have to tell ourselves that, we're good enough to be here and this and that, da-da-da-da-da. So listen, if it were one player that suddenly didn't look like himself from the regular season to the postseason, then I'd say that is this player's problem because the rest of the team doesn't have that issue. But Rodney is saying that Isaiah is like, we as a team are not who we are. And that's true. And we how many times did we say it last year? The only team that can beat the Ravens is the Ravens. And so like, yes, I'm completely with you with the turnovers. You can't just say, oh, that turnover is John Harbaugh's fault. But I think if the entire team is completely different from who they are in their regular season, that to me is then you look at coaching because it's happening team wide.
It's well received.
Okay.
Sure. That's fair. Obviously we got to listen to Isaiah the way that, and that's a astute observation from Rodney, because there's nothing that Isaiah said that went viral. There's nothing that was overly dissected or talked about in that interview. I don't remember that being the case. Do you?
I try to go back and find it because I wanted to play exactly what he said. I don't recall it. I just remember several players. He's attributing it to Isaiah, but I feel like I've heard several players say that. You know what I mean? Give that like we just aren't playing it like ourselves. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so there's more though, Bobby. So Devin McCourty says that he talked to some players in Baltimore. And they have something very specific, and then that I thought was interesting. Here we go.
Grouch, I think there's a side of this, even from talking to different guys throughout the offseason in Baltimore, of I think Harbaugh and the whole staff needs to go above and beyond from an accountable standpoint to every guy. Like, hey, if we fumble a snap in practice, that has to be everybody go. Yep. Like, we have to create this sense of urgency.
Can't let the Stars get away. Yes, because the Stars have let them down in the last 2 losses.
What did Belichick used to tell us all the time? In the biggest games, our best players need to be their best.
Yep. Right.
Like that. And if we look at Baltimore, you don't, like, their best players aren't always their best in the biggest games. And I think that comes from a coach being on them every single day and not being like, hey, man, you're so great. Hey, just kind of do this. No. Like, when your best players mess up, who do you undress first in the meeting room? You got to, and it's not yelling, screaming, but it's, hey, I'm going to hold you accountable in front of your whole teammates. Right. And I think the same thing happens from player to coach too, because if a coach isn't doing that, then a player should be able to, hey, coach, you're not giving me the play call. Like, that was a big, like, the coordinator's not giving you a play call. We can't just be like, no, hey, coach, we need the play call before 5 seconds. Like, we need the play. You know what I mean? I think you have to have that from both sides.
But it's definitely coming from the coach. The coach really elevates the team to that next level.
Yeah, I hear you. And I always thought it was amazing about you guys and your runs with the Patriots. Like, you guys are the best team in football. And speaking of your coaching, you guys were the team that was most probable to run a trick play in a playoff game to maybe just help jumpstart things, get everybody going. And I thought that was always great coaching too. Like, hey, we had a bye week. It's the divisional game. We're starting off a little slow. Let's do this to jumpstart things, right? And I do think there's
so going back to Isaiah Likely, he's saying that we have to keep the same identity in the regular season and in the playoffs. And that's the thing, is it's a mindset. We never thought of playoffs being, okay, we're playing the playoffs. It was just like this. Okay, we never viewed it as being really so different than a regular season. So our approach was always the same. We were always businesslike, and we never got nervous because we were so well prepared.
Right.
And that's what I don't see from the Baltimore Ravens and the Buffalo Bills.
I like all that.
Wow. Rodney doubled down. I mean, made sure to circle back on it, specifically pointed out the preparation or lack thereof, specifically pointed out potential nerves because of that lack of preparation in his mind. Devin having a pulse for the locker room. I mean, that's damning in a sense.
Well, and two things that were interesting when he said that he talked to players in Baltimore and they wanted Harbaugh to hold players accountable. What's funny, see, that's interesting to me, because what's funny, especially when John Harbaugh first came to Baltimore, he butted heads with everybody. He's even joked, like, he came in to fight because Steve Bisciotti, when he hired him, said, hey, I would need this team to be more balanced. Right now, the defense, they're bullies on the field, but they're also bullies to the offense. And so he charged John Harbaugh with changing the culture to make the team more balanced. And I'm telling you, Ed Reed didn't like it at first. Ray Lewis didn't like it at first. JJ didn't like it at first. He and JJ went face to face in practice. Like
Jarrett Johnson.
Yeah, Jarrett Johnson. Like, they were about to, like, they were like ready to throw down. And so I'm telling you, that's who he was when he first started. And I feel like more than anything in the past, I've heard that he's tough, like maybe too tough. So to hear that McCourty's saying, hey, if I've talked to players there and they need John to hold top players accountable, that's surprising to me. Because obviously, number one on that list, like the top player is Lamar Jackson. And you can go from there. I don't know, like pick your Derrick Henry, Roquan Smith, like Mark Andrews, like what? And so that's interesting to me. Like he's basically saying he needs to hold those he needs to be on those top players all season long is what he's suggesting. So I don't know how that would go, but he literally said, then we came back to Rodney Harrison, and he said those Patriots teams never got nervous. That's so different than what we heard from Odafe Owe in his interview was serious. And he's like, we just need to tell ourselves that we're enough. It's like, what? You guys even have to tell yourselves that? Like, that's so far from where Rodney Harrison is saying his team is at. There's no way the Kansas City Chiefs go into it and say we have to tell ourselves that we're enough. There's no way that needs to be said to them. So it feels like there's like a lot of ground to make up there, and they're basically saying that confidence can be instilled by the head coach. Now, listen, we're not in there. I'm not in there. I don't know how this is going. I don't know how much he holds his players accountable versus doesn't. I don't know if players want him to hold certain players more accountable. I'm not there. This is obviously just what McCourty is saying he's hearing. But outside of that, because I'm not inside there, I can't say whether or not he's right or wrong. But I think the overall overarching sentiment of your team needs to go into the playoffs not feeling any more nervous, any more pressure. You still need to be who you are. You need to treat it the same. That for sure has not been happening. And I do think that John Harbaugh needs to lead the way to make sure that they are more even keel going from the regular season to the postseason.
I think this is a conversation that we may have to revisit, in January. And should similar issues rear their ugly head this year the way they have in years past, Sarah, we may have to revisit that and have a tough conversation around it. So, and it hasn't been that wouldn't be the first time over the last couple of years that you and I have had that type, right? It was like, I think we had a lead that was somewhere along the lines of, having a hard conversation regarding John Harbaugh, like paraphrasing what we went with that day. And it was just like,
like months ago, right?
Oh, it was like right after the loss. It was right after the divisional round. So good context.
And sorry to bring it up again. But this is why to me, it's more mentality, and we can argue about the semantics of what words mean. This is why I want to hear Super Bowl or bust. I want to hear whether it truly is or not. Like I want to hear. I heard John Harbaugh give it. Oh, it was with Kevin Clark, and I didn't bring in the clip. It was because we were talking on a different topic. Remember in that interview with Kevin Clark on ESPN, he said that Lamar Jackson is a historically great passer, and that's what the media were all reacting to, and that's what kind of like went viral. So we talked about that. But in that same thing, Kevin Clark followed up with like, hey, you said in a press conference that you don't like Super Bowl or bust. Not a press conference. He was on the lounge. That you don't like the phrase Super Bowl or bust. He's like, yeah, I don't like that. Because he took it as like we're like blowing it all up. That's how it was defined to him, that we're going to blow up the whole team. And he's like, but it is do or die. And I'm like, that's the same thing. Like, he's like, yeah, it's do or die, this, that. I'm like, but to me, it's the same thing. And so however you want to define what that phrase means, to me, it's a mindset. I want you going in and it's just to the wall. Like confidence is there. Nobody's getting in the way. We're busting through. I'm going to run through a brick wall. Like, don't back away from Super Bowl or bust. Don't back away from that. Like run into it and lean into it and just like go like everything is on the line. Like your job is on the line. Like all the players' careers and their legacy and all of that is on the line. That to me is why I want it to be okay to say Super Bowl or bust, even if you don't blow it all up. You can go back and revisit the offseason, but go into that with mentality like everything relies on this season to get this ring.
Comes down to the definition. It comes down to the definition.
It's dumb though. To me, it's like it's a mentality. Who cares about the definition? Act like everything's on the line. Act like it.
for timing purposes, I'm not rebuttaling because we've had the conversation before. We have different definitions. To me, that conversation's been had. Didn't mind that you went back down that road. And it sounds like the chat didn't mind either because they're fired up.